What is going on, everybody out there in IB Nation land, whatever all of you are, all of us together? Welcome to another edition of the Irish Breakdown Podcast.
Together, IB Nation. That's
there
what we
go.
are.
That's a shirt. That's a shirt waiting to happen. It is, upon further review, one day late because I was traveling, and now I'm not traveling, but I am in a hotel room. As you can see, I don't have the green wall behind me, but learning all about school safety. So that is where I'm at today. And actually, I saw an IB member at the school safety conference. Brian.
Nice.
And he's like, Vince, what's going on? So it's one of the guys we met at the tailgate. And so that was kind of fun. So we stopped and talked for a couple minutes. I said, hey, man, tune in tonight. I said, we're doing a show from the hotel room.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
So, yeah,
getting it done.
It was pretty cool. So we dove into the film, everybody, and we've got a bunch to show you guys.
Vince is in his lair. It's got that layer in the background. You know, the darkness. Right? You got some.
Yes.
It's clearly TV on because I see it flashing behind you.
I can turn it off if it bothers you. Yeah, I can turn it off if it bothers you. I knew it might. I got the remote.
If I just have a stroke if I just have a stroke in the middle of the show, who cares? Who cares? As long as you get to watch TV while you're doing a show.
We're just keeping it interesting.
So,
No, we dove into the film. A lot of good things to talk about. Some interesting things to talk about. We always see things we didn't see live, and that's the best part about this show. So glad everybody had a chance to join us for tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to dive right in. So offense first, Brian, because that's what we do. Offense first.
Well,
baby. Let's
it's also, we've talked about the defense first a lot because the defense played better in recent games. So offense played really well in this game. So yeah, Vince, when I look at this, I sent you a text, by the way. When I look at the offense, Vince, it's one of those things where when you break the game down, like I thought they played well watching live, but I had a similar frustration kind of on the feel that somebody in the show earlier today kind of brought up about the slow start. And then you break the film down, you look at the stats and all that, and you're like, the start wasn't actually as slow as you thought. It was a lot of what we've seen in the past, just not finishing stuff off, getting in the red zone, getting into good third downs, having, guys coming open on third down, not making the read, things like, and you're like, it just, so then that emotional aspect of it, because it's kind of been here, done that, then kind of paints my head, kind of paints a picture in my head of like, it was better. You're just better than they are. But then you break the film down and you're like, man, there's some really good stuff. And because I also had good feelings after the game too about some of the stuff, and it confirmed some things we saw. There were some things from the game. I wouldn't say there was anything from the offense that was worse than I thought watching live, but there were some things that were confirmed to have not been as good.
Agreed.
But then some things that I thought were a little better. And we'll get into a lot of those things as well. But I want to begin, Vince, with the run game, because that's a part of it that we didn't talk as much about on Saturday night, as far as just really diving into it, because we don't watch the O-line quite as much live. That's what people can see on their TVs and things like that. We try to jump into different things, but the numbers for the run game weren't sexy on Saturday. They didn't blow. They're not going to blow you away. They ran for 130 something yards. But when I broke the film down, I was actually more pleased with the run game than I thought I was going to be. But even more importantly, Vince, being able to watch the offensive line, and this is kind of where we'll start. I want to kind of dive into, first and foremost, what we saw from the two young kids that played on Saturday, because I was very, very impressed with, now again, the context of they played like redshirt freshmen making their first starts, meaning there's going to be mistakes. Things that I would have been more upset by if Rocco Spindler would have done, or Pat Coogan did. And,
because it's game
Joe
11
would have
if it was
done.
them. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
for some of those guys, it's game
Or
20
more.
something.
Or more.
But
Yeah,
for
exactly.
guys making their first career starts, you don't like it, you correct it, but you don't get as frustrated by it. But I'll
Right.
tell you what, man, the good reps far outnumbered. Like they played really good football. And the biggest
Yep.
observation, Vince, and I think we made this observation on Saturday, the athleticism of the offensive line looks significantly better with those two kids in the lineup compared to who was there before.
No, it just does. And I really liked, I mean, I think you said it on your breakdown or on the board someplace, but you hit the nail on the head because Billy Schrauth, and it's not a denigration to anybody else, but Billy Schrauth is good enough to be on the field. He should have been starting this whole year. And there's nothing that happened
Or at
when
least
he's
playing,
right.
rotating until he was ready to take over. Right.
There's nothing that has happened when he's been on the field to make me think otherwise. Now, obviously, we are not at practice every day, all of those things, but everything I've seen from Billy Schrauth in the spring, in fall camp, and then on the field during games, the kid needed to be on the field more. He just needed to be on the field more, and he proved that again in this start. I mean, I thought he was aggressive. I thought he's got good feet. I thought he finished off blocks. One thing that I was really impressed with, and I said this to you before we went on the air, was that the double teams between Craig and Billy, Ashton and Billy, were really good for two kids that have never started a game next to each other. Like the communication, and you know this, Brian, you have to be able, it's nonverbal and it's verbal communication when you're double teaming and climbing to the next level. And I was just really impressed with the fact that the timing of their double teams was good.
You can see that they've played together all year because they have. I mean,
Well,
they've
and
been the
yeah,
second team offensive line all
sure.
year, and that helps. I actually think they benefited from both starting together. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yes.
there was someone that a guy had a cohesiveness with,
That's a good
whereas
point.
Williams is one of
Yeah.
them. There's not as much of that communication. But yes, they worked well, the top combos together. I thought Blake and Billy worked surprisingly well together. There were more issues with Ashton and Coogan than there were either Ashton or Billy and Blake.
Yeah. Well, and I think
sense.
that was, and I hate to say it, but it was more on Coogan
Well,
than Ashton, I think.
Explain, because I'm not sure. Like the one outside zone where they just let a guy run through, I can't say that was on Coogan or not. I don't know
because he went through that gap between
he
the two
clearly
of them.
thought someone was coming with him. And honestly, between two guys, if I'm gonna
That's fair.
I'm gonna assume that the guy that's making his first start, the odds are greater that he messed up than the guy that's in his 11th game, but I could be wrong on that. That's why I tried not to say it. Were there other snaps that you saw that made you think it was more of a Coogan issue than a Craig issue?
I just felt like he was a beat slower getting off the ball, a beat slower getting to where he needed to be. There was a couple times he didn't run his feet like I would have liked, things like that. But that's been kind of consistent throughout the year.
It's just more obvious now when the center and the right guard aren't also as equally slow-footed as like Zeke Correll was the most athletic guy they had in the middle. And Zeke's got some good quickness. I mean,
sure.
But like the guards were just lumbering. And Rocco could do some really good things like power blocking, which is again, I think Rocco could have played better if they would have done more of what we saw Saturday in previous games. Be more inside zone duo oriented as opposed to asking him to be pulling all freaking day, which they didn't ask those guys to do. But that's something else that I noticed from the game, Vince. We saw a lot less of the counters in the G scheme. We saw only 3 pull plays. We saw 2 counters and 1 G scheme. Everything else, they ran in 1 outside zone, which was a colossal failure. Went for -6. But everything else was inside zone or duo. They had 4 runs of their. I counted 30 attempts. Now, when I broke down the numbers, I didn't count. I count the penalty runs as normal runs because I didn't feel the penalty was a good call, and I didn't feel that the penalty should have impacted. It didn't impact the play. The one on Flanagan.
Flanagan was a terrible call.
Right. And both of those holds on Notre Dame were shaky. I'm like, I watch Clemson kids do this on every single play, and ACC crews didn't call it one time. But that's a different conversation for a different day. So I counted it because I think that gives a better gauge on how they ran the football. But I had him down for only 151 yards on design runs on 30 carries, which is good for 5.0 per carry. But I think overall the numbers were better in some areas. Uh, you also have to look at, they had a 63.3% efficiency number, which I thought was good. That anytime you're over 60, that's a good day.
Okay.
For my standard. And then when you break down some of the individual runs, you see the issues were on the misdirection stuff. They ran counter twice for 0 yards, gained 3 once, lost 3 the other. They ran a G scheme for -3, and they ran outside zone for -6. They ran duo and inside zone a combined 26 times, 19 times inside zone, 7 times duo. And honestly, that's one of the things I probably liked the most was sort of my confirmation. Like, it's more of a bias. I'm more of an inside zone guy with duo as a compliment as opposed to the other way around.
Right.
And my big beef last year was they were so reliant on duo. They never ran inside, hardly ever ran inside zone. This year, they've mixed them up. They didn't run duo a whole lot earlier. This is only inside zone within the counter power stuff. In this game, they mixed it up well. They ran inside zone 19 times and duo 7 times. I think that's a really nice balance between the two. They averaged, and this is now, if you were on the Ivers breakdown message boards, you'd already have all this data. Plus, you'd have the all 22 film breakdown and all part of it too. But they ran inside zone 19 times, Vince, for 118 yards. That's 6.2 per carry. They had a 73.7% efficiency rate. When you're getting over 70% efficiency in the run game, that's outstanding. And then when you go to duo, they ran duo 7 times for 42 yards, just 6 yards a carry. And they had a 57.1 efficiency rate, which is a little skewed because they had it fewer times. They had 4 efficient runs on 7, and then they missed them. They probably could have had another one, but I liked that blend, and I think it was smart to focus so much on inside zone and duo because you're not asking those 2 young first-time starters. Because like on G scheme, it's like, okay, am I pinning or are you pinning? Am I pulling or are you pulling? There's a lot more.
And it's all depending
conversation
on
there.
And it's not, I want to explain that just a skosh here because
please do.
When not understanding who's pinning and who's pulling, it's not just, okay, here's this play. You pin, you pull. It's not that. It's based on where the defense is lining up, and the defense was shifting and moving, and guys were coming up on the line. So there's a lot that goes into it, and therefore a lot of communication that needs to happen. And when you've got 2 brand new guys that are coming in, sometimes that communication doesn't happen, right? And so then you've got too many guys pinning or too many guys pulling, and then guys are coming free, and then obviously that's a problem. It's over before it starts. And so I just want to make sure people understood. It's not like Pop Warner where, okay, we're running, toss sweep. You do this, you do this, you do this. It doesn't matter what the defense is doing.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
Or in inside zone, there's a lot of communication, but we're both blocking some sort of combo to get to the next level. So they all require inside zone, but I just think it's a little bit easier to run inside zone and duo. There's a little less, it doesn't matter. There's a little more, it doesn't matter what the defense is doing. The rules are the rules on inside zone and duo.
Right.
And I thought they were effective in that regard. And so when you're playing 2 kids who, especially when one of them's your center, it'd be one thing if it was like your right guard and your right tackle or your 2 guards, but one of them is your center and he's got to make a lot more calls and communication. Like Zeke Correll does a lot of stuff before. And so then having a new kid there with Zeke on the bench and you're opening yourself up to a lot of potential issues if you're asking him to run all the different stuff they've been running. And
it's like taking your middle linebacker out of the game. I mean, it's a similar situation. It's just kind of making the calls, making sure everybody's in the right spot. It's a very similar situation with the center,
right?
Depending on the offense that you're running, and they rely on Zeke and they rely on his brain and what he's able to do. And and going into game 11 of the season and game 20 something, almost 30 something for Zeke Correll, right? He knows this offense and he knows those calls, and it's like the back of your hand, and Jared Parker and Marcus Freeman can count on that. And so kind of slimming the run game down a little bit is really smart. Actually, it's really, really smart. And it's not a knock against Ashton Craig either. It's like, hey, we're just not going to put that much on your plate.
I would have done the same thing in Zeke Correll's first career start back in 2020.
100%.
Yes, exactly.
And we've talked about that. Yeah, we've talked about that on the defensive side of the ball, right? It's like, we want you guys to go out there and play free and play fast and play aggressive. Same thing on offense. There is paralysis by analysis offensively as well. If you've got too much going on, there's too much thinking. We've seen it at the wide receiver position before when there's just too much on the plate of the wide receiver. You put too much on the plate of the center, you're just not going to get good play at the beginning of his career like this.
Right.
So I really like the way that they kind of slimmed things down a little bit, and they allowed those guys to just go out and showcase their ability, which they did in that game.
And there were some technical issues. There are things that Ashton Craig did that if Zeke Correll would have made the same mistake, I would have been much harder on Zeke for it.
For sure.
Right.
Yes.
So, but I love the length that those two kids have. They're not only taller, but they're long.
Yes.
And they move their feet really well. And
they just cover more ground. And they just, I thought
they battle.
There was one play, and I can't remember exactly which play it was, but there was one play where Ashton came off of a double, and I believe he was doubling to his right, which would have been with Billy, right? So he's doubling. He comes off of it quick, gets a hand on another double team, and then goes up to the linebacker. Like he was like kind of pinball action, but it was totally under control, and he still got to where he needed to go, and the running back ran right up his butt. Like it was poetry. It was
fun
beautiful.
To watch. It was fun to watch. And I thought Blake played well for the most part. I thought Blake's run blocking was pretty good in the game. I thought him and Billy worked really well together.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like Blake was sped up in this game being with Billy. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like he had to move quicker because Billy moves quicker. And I thought their double teams were hitting quicker than they were with Rocco.
It made Fisher a better player.
Yeah. At least for this game. I don't want to say too much because
I agree.
Because again, I still think Rocco wasn't being allowed to play a game that's more his style. Like this would have been more of a Rocco Spindler game. Nothing but inside zone and duo.
Sure.
And so that's not as much of a knock on Rocco as much as it's why were you asking Rocco to pull that much? Right. So a couple more numbers, Vince kind of breaking down the game. I thought the balance left-right was really good. They ran 17 times to the left, 13 times to the right, 5.1 yards per carry to the left, 5.0 to the right. They had a really nice 11, 12, 13 personnel mix. They ran out of 11 personnel 14 times, and they ran out of 12 and 13 personnel 16 times. So almost a 50-50 split between the two, Vince. And they ran for 69 yards out of 11 personnel. That's 4.9 per carry. They were just a shade under 60% there. So obviously you want it to be a little bit more efficient, but still good numbers. And then they had 82 yards on 16 carries running out of 12 and 13 personnel. However, that 21-yard carry is a little bit their 21-yard gain out of 13 personnel is a little misleading. That wasn't on the line. Audric got hit a yard behind the line of scrimmage. That was a great run by Audric Estime. However, I will say this. You can't bounce it if you don't keep a body on a body. And that's the thing I liked about the O-line in this game is even when they weren't winning, they were staying locked on. They were staying engaged on the inside zone and duo. A lot of the counter stuff is when we were seeing run-throughs. That's what they tried to run outside zone and a guy shot through the A gap. They tried to run a counter backside and Wake Forest just crashed it from the edge, and there was no way for Joe Wald or Blake Fisher on those runs to get across their face. That was a good game plan by Wake. They were prepared for that pulling stuff, and they had a plan for they're going to blow it up from the backside because they knew Notre Dame's not going to have the quarterback keep it, and they're not going to bootleg off of it. That's right.
Yeah.
And so I thought that allowed the duo stuff and the inside zone stuff to be a lot more effective. And sorry, Vince, we just had a hilarious comment from Tommy Guns. He goes, "Dang, VD21 drinking the dew in front of Brian like that." Very well played, Tommy. Very well played.
Yeah, you mean the $4.50 Mountain Dew?
I know, right?
Lobby.
But that's the thing, though, Vince, is I did like that 14-16 split 11 versus two tight end stuff. That's the kind of balance you need to see. They threw more out of 11 personnel, but that's okay as long as the running stuff is still an option. But some of their biggest plays of the game, they threw 2 long touchdown passes from 12 or 13 personnel. Vince, the touchdown pass to Eli Rariden was out of 13 personnel. The touchdown pass to Tobias Merriweather was out of 12 personnel. And and here's the other thing, and we'll break it down here a little bit. And well, actually, I'm gonna hold off on that. How the run game how play action impacted the run game. Because we're gonna break down how that impacted one of those touchdowns. But just a couple other numbers too, Vince. Notre Dame ran 15 times on first down for 83 yards. That's 5.5 a carry. That's a good day of work. And a 66.7% efficiency rate on first down. That's huge. Huge.
Yeah.
And then they had five runs on third down and converted 3 of those. So they had a 60% convert, because an efficient run on third down is easy. You either get the first down or you don't. And if you don't,
Right.
it's not an efficient run. That's how I grade it anyway.
Sure.
And others will have, like, if you gain a certain percentage to get to fourth down, they'll do it. But for me, so decent day on third down. But the first down runs really efficient. That matters. And then the balance between 11 and 12, that matters. Balance between left and right, 17 and 13. Those are all things that make it a lot harder for you to be tendency oriented, right? And then when you're running as much inside zone and duo, it's really not so much field boundary, where a lot of your pull stuff, it's like it matters if you're going field boundary, because on one of them you got a lot less room to work than you do the other. So overall, very, very pleased with the simplicity of the run game, but also the balance of it. It wasn't just, hey, here's what we're doing, because they did run some stuff play action wise out of those things. And I thought that helped make the run game better, but really, really well designed, well called, and relatively well executed run game by Notre Dame on Saturday.
Another thing I wanted to point out that just kind of dawned on me as we were talking about this, and you talked about Wake Forest's scheme to kind of take out a lot of those pulling guards, because they were just going to fire hard. There were a lot of slants called by Wake Forest. They were slanting hard and right now. And Notre Dame did a really good job of using that against Wake Forest. There was a couple of plays where, if you're looking at it from behind Notre Dame, right, and Wake Forest slants hard to the left. Well, Notre Dame just took their entire offensive line and just let them go that way and just buried them to the left and then just ran off to the right. And it was just clean. And I mean, Blake Fisher, I thought, did a really, really good job of just wiping out a couple of guys. I mean, he just took those guys for a ride and just wiped it out. And then it was a very easy run back to the right-hand side. And they had one guy come, the tight end come over and kick out. But I mean, it was just so clean because they used what Wake Forest was trying to do against them and use their momentum against them. That's what I always used to tell my wide receiver. It's a little bit different, but it's like, if he wants to fly inside on a run, take him to the inside, like use his momentum against him. And that's what they did, scheme wise. I thought that was really, really smart.
Couple other things too, Vince. Just some more stats for you. They ran out of shotgun 21 times for 98 yards. They ran out of either an I formation or a pistol 9 times for 53 yards. So they had 80% efficiency out of the I formation, 75% out of pistol, only 57.1 out of shotgun. So obviously that's something that you have to clean up a little bit. Now, I have always said this, Vince. I always am a fan of counting RPOs as part of the run game and not the pass game. Yep. I think they're a greater extension of the run game. I've always factored them into that. So when you look at the RPO numbers as well, Notre Dame went 7 of 8 throwing RPO in the game. I believe it's the most they've actually pulled and thrown all year. I have to go back and look at it, but I believe that's correct. They were 7 of 8. The one incomplete was a drop, not a great ball. Definitely a ball that's got to be caught though by Chris Tyree.
Yeah, it's a little high, but got to bring it down.
Got to make that catch. But
that means they were 0 for 1 and then went 7 for 7.
7 for 7, correct. And I think their longest gain was like 11, and then you had a fumble by Rico Flores Jr. But on the day, if you look at the run game and the RPOs combined, you had 38 total plays, so 30 carries and 8 pass attempts for 206 yards. Right, that's a good day of work. Right, 68.4% efficiency rate at that number, and a 5.4 yards per play. Not great, but good. Right, yeah. Good day. It wasn't a great day.
It's a nice compliment, though, like because they weren't
especially
going
when
to
your pass game is rolling, and they should have had 380 yards passing, which we'll get into.
Yes,
but I did want to kind of break down one of the RPOs. So you ready to a little breakdown?
Yes.
This is actually the first RPO completion of the game. This is a hitch route to Rico Flores. So I will give you all here the specifics of this play, because I know some of you like to look this kind of stuff up. And so let me just pull up the specific play sheet. This is I believe, the first one, the first completion, RPO completion.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is on the second drive of the game. It's a 1st and 10 at the -41. So this is first quarter, second drive, play 4 of that drive. Notre Dame, as you can see here, this is 11 personnel. What makes it 11 personnel? 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. That's 11. Back plus tight ends. Back is 1, tight end numbers 2. So if it's 11 personnel, that means 1 running back, 1 tight end. If it's 12 personnel, that means 1 running back, 2 tight ends, so forth and so on. So, and then the receivers is just kind of whatever's left over. So on this particular play, Notre Dame is running an inside zone, right? So you've got the running back right here. You've got the tight end blocking backside. They're running inside zone. Now, normally, Vince, the RPO key will be read number 2. So you guys see those numbers up there. Read number 1, read number 2. Against a lot of teams, you're going to have read number 2 is actually going to be your give, pull, read. The way that Wake Forest played Notre Dame, which I think was smart for Notre Dame to counter this way, their safety crashes. And I talked about this last week, Vince. Their safety, Malik Mustafa, crashes hard. And they took full advantage of that this week. And this is a particular example. So now the give pull read is now that safety to the field, not the nickel. So the safety is going to be the read. So and that's when Notre Dame didn't have success running the ball. Some of the times, like Jeremiah Love had a run where he's free if that guy's not crashing inside, but they didn't have an RPO called. And if they would have had something called to maybe occupy that guy, Jeremiah Love might have been off to the races. That's why I love RPOs, because you force them into those situations. However, they didn't do that here in some other place, but here they did. So this safety right here, and you can kind of see Vince, his body language is aggressive. So Sam Hartman, as soon as he gets a snap, gets his eyes on that guy, and that guy comes flying downhill.
Yep.
So Sam Hartman then pulls the ball. Now his read goes to read number 2. That's where I'm going to throw the ball. So read number 1 is give, pull. Read number 2, it's almost like triple option. Read number 2 is who's getting the ball, Chris Tyree in the slot or Rico Flores outside. That's who he's reading number 2, because Wake does a lot of off coverage. So at the snap of the ball, the read number 2 squats right on top of Chris Tyree, just sits right on top of Chris Tyree. Easy read for Sam Hartman. I'm banging the outside hitch route to Rico Flores. He does it correctly. Rico catches it, squares it up, gets a couple yards after the catch. And just like that, on 1st and 10, you're now in 2nd and 1. Just like that. Super efficient. Love the read. And then, as I said, here's the kind of routes that are being run that you could see there. Just a little quick option route by Chris Tyree and a hitch route by Rico Flores. So we saw stuff like that, Vince. We saw quick outs on the RPO, like just little 5-yard out cuts. We saw a couple RPOs that were designed screens. If you're pulling, you're throwing a screen. One was to the tight end. One was to the receiver, where you're actually, you're blocking the perimeter. And then they had to play where they had Jordan Faison actually in the wing, and then the tight end in the slot, and then an outside guy to the boundary. They're running inside zone. If that guy comes in, you're pulling and throwing the little slide to Jordan Faison. But it was a real basic RPO package, Vince, that was highly effective. Yeah, hitches out, effective. Couple screens. And they didn't need a whole lot more than that, the way that Wake Forest was playing, to be honest with you. So I liked the RPO thing, and I think that added a lot to the overall effectiveness of their run game concepts.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. That's the thing about an RPO game, especially when, like you said, Wake is playing the way that they are. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be pretty simple, because basically whatever Wake Forest did, they were going to be wrong as long as it was read correctly. And I felt like they did a really good job. And you'll notice, if you watch body language and you watch Sam Hartman when he was, completing these RPO passes and things like that, he was very comfortable doing that. Just very comfortable in the RPO game, because he's been doing it forever. It's a little different, but the reading of the RPO game and things like that, like, I don't want to say he was nonchalant when he's back there throwing the ball, but he just looks super comfortable. He's like, oh, yep, there it is.
I get what you mean. He was. Yeah. You're saying nonchalant. I would say just assertive. I think, just comfortable. Like you said, like nonchalant can mean like, oh, he's not. No, that's not what he's saying. Just like, look, dude, I'm just grab it and rip it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like just, read it and rip it. Right. That's what I say. Read it and rip it. That's what Sam Hartman needs to be.
He was very confident in his throws in the RPO game. It was very confident.
The RPO game, and when there was only one read, like meaning one read for 2 routes, he was much more confident on those type of throws. than he was on some of the stuff that required a little bit more intricate reads. But
Right.
but overall, Vince, I thought the RPO game was a really nice compliment to what Notre Dame was doing on Saturday. So overall, run game wise, I was pleased with what I saw. Design wise, execution wise, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great run game performance. And it was better on film than I thought watching it live. I'm like, dude, they ran for 140 something yards against freaking Wake Forest. Like, come on, man. But when I broke down the film, I was like, you know what? Like, and Wake was really geared towards stopping the run.
Yes.
Like the safeties were flying downhill, the nickels were
yes.
crashing hard. I mean, there's a lot of things they were doing to stop that, which then opened up some opportunities in the pass game, which we'll get into a little bit here as well. So, feel good about that part of it?
I feel great about it. Yeah, I think it's really good.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, Vince, you want to dive into the pass game?
Yeah, the pass game was an interesting watch back because on the face of it, I heard somebody talking about, this was Sam Hartman's best game of the year and some of these different
Agree
things.
To disagree.
I believe me, I'm with you on that.
Somebody in the chat was saying that?
No, it was, what did I see? I think I saw it on Twitter, actually, gotcha. From a media, I don't know. I'll send it to you. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the bottom line is I heard it out there and I was like, well, he had a bunch of touchdown passes, which he hasn't done in the last few weeks. Yes, that is true. But there was a lot left on the field. And but like you said, very confident in the RPO game, very confident in the one read game. I thought he was very confident in that, made some nice throws. The throw to Eli Rariden on the touchdown was a great play fake. It was a great play call. It was a great throw and a great catch. Like great check. A lot of that. And I was very impressed by that stuff.
Yeah.
When you go back and you watch it and you get the all 22, and my watch is talking to me, sorry.
I was wondering what that was.
When you go back and you watch the all 22 and you see some of the other things that were missed, it's like you start scratching your head a little bit and you're like, okay, well, it wasn't as great as maybe on the outside it looks.
Least early.
Yes.
I thought he settled in pretty well after the start.
Early.
Yeah, I thought he settled in a little bit after that. And we'll dive into some of that stuff, Vince. I want to start off with some of the things we liked from the game. Overall, I thought the design was good. Again, really nice 11-12 personnel balance. I'm looking at the run game action now. And if you look at the designed runs or designed passes, they had one pass out of 10 personnel, had 13 passes out of 11 personnel, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 passes out of 12 personnel, and 2 passes out of 13 personnel. They completed two passes out of 13 personnel. Do you know what both of them did? Scored touchdowns. They were in 13 personnel on the wheel route to Devin Ford, and they were in 13 personnel on the touchdown to Eli Rariden. And then the third touchdown pass, second touchdown pass was out of 12 personnel to Tobias Merriweather. They not until the last touchdown pass for Sam Hartman. The one Stephen Jelly, I think, was also 11. Yeah, 11 personnel. So the last 2 touchdown passes were out of 11 personnel. But the first one was out of 13. The third one was out of 13, and the second one was out of 12. So really nice run pass balance, because if your balance is good run game wise, 11-12, but it's not pass game wise, it's not as good, but still better. But they had a really nice 11 versus 12 personnel balance in that part of the game as well, Vince, which is something that I was happy to see. And then we also saw them mixing up, how they threw the ball. They ran 2 bootlegs, went 1 of 2 on those 2 plays. I thought Wake played one of them relatively well, but I still thought Sam should have tried to throw the over as opposed to trying to throw a comeback. They ran 4 play action passes. They went 3 of 4 on play action for a grand total of 85 yards in this game, 2 touchdowns off play action in this game. And then they had 2 sprint outs. They had 1 screen, 1 sprint out. The sprint out they actually completed for It looked like they completed for 28 yards, but then they overturned it. I still think that should have been marked as a catch, in my opinion. But hey, it's ACC officiating crew, so what are you going to expect?
Oh, I know. And we were talking about that in the press box, and we're like,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it looks like a catch. He doesn't move. It doesn't look like the ground hell. I leaned over to Brian, go, it's an ACC crew. Guys, yeah, they're going to overturn.
Yeah, no, you were like, yeah, it definitely should be a catch, but it's an ACC crew, so they're going to overturn it. That's exactly what Vince said. Like a minute later, they did that. And then I believe, Vince, you had 17 drop back passes, some form of drop back. So again, nice balance, nice mix up of those two. They didn't get super complex in the pass game, but there were some really good wrinkles, which we'll break down here as we get into this game, Vince. But overall, like the design, like the execution of the pass game, even though there were some missed opportunities and some missed reads and things like that, which to a degree will happen. But we'll break down some of those things first. But I want to break down a couple things that I liked first too, Vince. And that is on the second touchdown drive of the game. We saw some things from Notre Dame that literally were exactly what we talked about last week, wanting to see more of, which is getting back to sort of the high-low concepts, whether it be double post, the dig post, things like that. And we saw Notre Dame do that several times. And on the second touchdown drive, they actually ran it two different ways and hit two different players on it. One of them actually went for 10 yards, but he should have thrown it to somebody else. And that is this particular play right here. So for those of you who want to go look at this particular play, this is the fourth drive of the game. This is the first drive of the second quarter. The second play of the drive. This is a second and 10, excuse me. It comes right after the sprint out throw to Chris Tyree that was ruled incomplete. It's the very next play. As you can see, Notre Dame is in 12 personnel. And I know one of the complaints that we've had and people have had is, they throw too much on second and 10. Well, this is a second and 10 play where they threw the ball down the field. So this is the pre-snap read, Vince. As you can see, it's quarters coverage. Wake Forest as you can see, this safety's kind of peeking downhill. That safety's kind of peeking downhill. The corners are off at least 7 yards both ways. And then Notre Dame is running this concept. So you have a deep post out up top by Tobias Merriweather. You have a dig or an in cut by Rico Flores. Now, this is a post-snap switch. So Eli Rariden releases vertically and runs a deep corner route, and then Holden Stace runs a crossing route. So you have levels, deep levels. In the past, we'd see Eli run like a little cross. We'd see Holden Stace run a middle route that stops right here, and then we'd see this guy run across, and it's just a bunch of people there, and they just would run that all the time. Here, it's a levels, but it's a deep level. So you have three layers. You have the top being taken off here by Tobias. You have this intermediate route here, and then you have a short route here, and then you're just reading it. On this particular play, Vince, the guy that's the primary read keys are these two safeties right here, okay? And so what happens is you're going to read this high-low. This is when I say high-low, there's a reason for that. And that is you're reading it high to low. So you're looking for your read that's going to take you to the post. That's this safety right here. To this safety, primary read, secondary read right there. So at the snap, the primary read flies downhill because you also had a wheel route by the running back here.
Right.
You had a wheel route by the running back here as well that I did not draw up. The safety flies downhill. Okay, so that's going to lead you to either post or the in cut, right? So what happens is the field safety, this guy right here, actually sinks to the middle. So they actually robbed to cover 3 on this play. This was a cover 3 play. Now, what helps is that you have this in cut by Tobias by Rico Flores, and then this under. So now the post is taken away. The corner's playing over top of it. The free safety, the field safety is coming over top of it. Post is done. So now I'm reading to the next level. What that should have done in that instance is that should have had Sam look to the backer to the safety to the backer. Well, the safety went flying out with the wheel route. That left Rico and the tight end on a cross, and the linebacker was kind of in no man's land because you had two guys actually ran with that wheel route. If you go back,
they did. And I was wondering, I was going to ask you think that was a mistake?
Yes,
the safety and the backer both went for the wheel route. That's what I thought too.
I believe so. I believe so. So what happens is Rico comes open, but Sam doesn't see it. So you can see it here. Rico's open. This guy right here, that's the referee.
That's the referee.
Now, this is a great read and reaction by Rico Flores because he's actually supposed to run an in cut. But what he does is he stops and he reads the defense and says, hey, they're in zone. There's a linebacker flying downhill here. If I keep running, I'm running into coverage, and Rico stops right in that window. Sam should have immediately gone to the football to him with the football right then.
100%.
Right then.
I mean, he turns around and he goes like this.
Right. Right. I mean, he was open. That was a really good, a really good read or read and reaction by Rico. Not
we always
so much
talk about zone coverage, finding the hole and sitting, right? And that you've got to be able to kind of feel that as a wide receiver. You've got to feel where those openings are. And he did a really good job of feeling where the opening was, cutting off his route and turning around and giving his numbers to the quarterback, which means, you know, he's facing the quarterback. He's showing him, hey, I'm open. I'm right here. Gave his numbers. He just didn't get the ball. I mean, he just didn't get the ball.
Yeah. He throws the ball to Holden, and Holden does a nice job of catching it, making a guy. I think he made one guy miss and then gets 10 yards. So it still went for a first down. It was an effective play. And, you know, but again, it was just one of those where I would have liked to have seen Sam, a veteran quarterback, make that read. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just would have rather seen that. So you get a first down there. You get into third and 4 or 3rd and 5. They run an inside run to Jabron Payne, only gains a yard. 3rd and 4. I didn't love that call, to be completely honest with you, Vince. I didn't love that Jabron Payne run on 3rd down. If I'm gonna run the ball on 3rd down, I'm either going with Audric or one of my 2 speed guys. But
he didn't
what it is.
Run it real well either. He ran right into the backside of the offensive lineman too.
Yes, he did. They ran a mesh concept on the next play, but it was one of the best meshes they've run all season, Vince. On that 4th and 3 conversion, it was just really well timed, and it was more levels. It was like instead of like a static with that middle, they took Eli Rariden and ran him on an over, and he was actually open. But he was more covered than Rico was. So Sam made the right decision throwing to Rico on that one. He would have had to be more lead him out there and you know, because there was a guy kind of closing on Eli, and if he's not spot on with that throw, maybe gets broken up. He made the right read. I was just making a point that they actually got 2 guys open on that mesh because they ran more of a layered mesh than the static mesh they've been running earlier in the year. And that got Rico open, moved the chains. I liked what I saw from there. And then they get a holding penalty on Joe Alt, and they get in 2nd 18, and they go back to that concept that we were talking about before, but they do it differently. Now here, Notre Dame's in 2nd and 18, and they're in a 2 tight end alignment. So as you can see, it's a balanced 2x2 alignment. You've got Rico Flores down here, Tobias Merriweather down here, and then 2 tight ends. You can see Wake Forest is once again in quarters. So quarters look, as you can see, very similar to up here, Vince. Quarters. Quarters means 1, 2, 3, 4. You're splitting the field into 25s, right? 25%.
4 guys are dropping. Yep.
Back in the day when I first started coming up as a high school player, quarters meant everybody was bailing. It was almost like a bail coverage. Yeah. Quarters now is more about your safeties are now reading down alley to run, and then they'll kind of play underneath the post. Last time they ran quarters, they just showed quarters, but as we showed, Vince, they rolled to 3. So as you can see, the safety kind of comes down, and that safety goes to the middle of the field, and the corners bail. So they showed quarters, but rolled to number 3. The next time you're in a similar situation and you've got a similar read, as I said before, you're going to read the read safety to the right. Okay. So you have this look, and this time they actually stay in quarters, Vince. And so Notre Dame is running a similar concept again, post dig. Now this time, instead of having a corner route by Eli Rariden, because you've got 2 tight ends, they're running a solo out cut by Rico. Now, Rico was actually open on this play. If he wanted to, he could have gone to the field and taken the out cut to Rico. He was proper not doing so because this guy could have dropped underneath it potentially. This guy right here could have potentially dropped underneath it. And then if this corner squats on it, now it's not as good of a read. So it ended up coming open, but the read was proper to go to the boundary route concept. Do you agree with that, Vince?
Oh, yeah.
So at the snap of the ball this time, let me see, I didn't show it. At the snap of the ball this time, this safety here, the boundary safety right here, sits on the route by Eli Rariden or by Holden Stace.
That's on the tight end on the 10-yard and
the linebackers run with that, and then this safety right here is playing quarter, so he's not bailing to the middle of the field. Excuse me. So now it's basically once the safety squats, you've got a post route one-on-one.
Yep.
They had run so many kind of short routes that the cornerback was kind of sitting expecting Tobias to do something quick. And at the top of the route, Tobias gave him a little head nod lean, and the guy just bit on it hard, and Tobias beat him to the top. Sam waited a little too long to throw the ball, but he still got it out there, and Tobias beat him. So this was the post. We talked about this very route, Vince, last week, and how we wanted to see it, and this is what we saw. So I like the call. I like the read. And obviously the execution was perfect because it ended up being a 35-yard touchdown. But we saw it twice on this route, Vince, or in this concept. We saw a similar concept here out of 12 personnel, but out of a different look. We had the two receivers together. Well, in that look, you're going to get more cover one or cover three because this safety is less threatened by these two guys, right? So it makes sense that you're going to get more cover three. So here they run it out of more of a spread look, which gives you a greater chance of getting quarters. And so I'm muting this guy. Give me a break. Unbelievable. But anyway, so I liked the read. I liked the call, and it was just a really, really well done series, really efficient series. It kind of stagnated a little bit in the middle, but then they convert the fourth down. Good with that. Then come back to this. Really good concept, Vince.
Yeah, it was great.
And we saw this run a couple other similar stuff to this run a couple other times, but it was really executed well in these two instances. I really liked what I saw from it.
Yeah, it was really well executed, and it was. At first, I thought that Sam wasn't going to throw it because he kind of did a little hitch. Like he did a little hitch when he probably should have let it go right in Tobias's break. But then he's like, "No, I got to throw this. He's wide open." And then he finally gets the ball out, and obviously it's a touchdown. And, better late than never because it ended up being a great play. And by the time that ball was in the air, Tobias had almost a 4-yard separation from that corner because at the top of his route, he just kind of gave a little bit of a lean to the outside and then put his outside foot in the ground and just went for the post. I mean, and that corner just didn't have a chance to catch up to him. So it was pretty on a lot of levels, that's for sure. And I was so happy that Tobias was finally able to get fed on a deep route.
Well, the last two times they've thrown him deep routes, he's caught them, and they've both underthrown. But at least this time he was in the end zone when it was thrown to him. Because it's the same route. And now what was nice about this one, Vince, is this is the first time we've seen Tobias get this route from the outside.
That's true.
Because so Tobias has scored on a post route twice in his career, should be three.
The first time
was thrown the ball
from the slot, yeah.
Well, the first time I'm thinking Stanford last year.
Yeah, it was the slot, yeah.
Right, yep. Exactly. He ran a post in the slot. Yep. He should have scored against Pitt if it would have been a better thrown ball. But the other touchdown he had was a go route outside. But I'm talking about the post route, anything in breaking instead of just a pure go. So it was nice to see him finally get that ball on a post route. Now, there's a couple coaching techniques I'd give Tobias about just, get vertical a little bit more urgency, things like that. But it was a good top end, and he got open for the big play. So I was happy to see that. There was another deep concept that they ran later, Vince, where you start to see the play action get into play. And that's the thing is they don't have to run play action a million times. They ran it 4 times, and it was open every time.
Yes,
the only time it was incomplete is because there was a pressure that got to the quarterback and he couldn't throw that in cut to Tobias on I think the first or second one that they ran it. So good play by the defense, I guess. But on the rest of them, I mean, they hit it big. They had gains on play. They had gains of 18, 19. The 19 was a 20-yard touchdown, and then a 48-yarder. The 18-yarder that didn't score got the ball to the 2-yard line.
Yes.
And they scored the next play.
Right.
So they were impact plays. And then you had a bootleg that went for 9 yards in a 1st and 10. So you called action passes, like some kind of play action pass, because a bootleg is a play action, but it's just not called. It's in the play action family, but it's a boot. There's boots and then there's play action. Boots are basically when you fake a run and then you get outside, you boot outside, right? Play action is more of just a straight drop back, right? So they're all part of the action family. So they called 6 action plays, and they went 4 of 6 on those plays for 96 yards with 2 touchdowns. That's a good day of work. Good. And they were all different. And so you could kind of call the touchdown pass to Rariden a boot, but I think that was more Sam just buying time, more so than a pure bootleg. Although you could say, depending on it could have been where he just didn't naked enough, and it could have been a naked and he just didn't naked enough. You know what I mean? But still, it was an action pass. But there was a couple of them that I really liked, Vince, and I want to break those 2 plays down.
Yeah.
The first one was really just and we won't show film of it. We're just going to talk about it. But the first one was the touchdown to Eli Rariden. I loved that call. It's one of my favorite calls of the game.
So
you
great.
Force a fumble, you come out 13 personnel, and you run a hard sell of the run fake. And it was just a 2-man route. You had a corner by Eli and then a sail coming behind it.
It was it was very, like, we have talked in the past about how Sam Hartman's not great at play action. He's just statistically, he's just not very good at it. Right.
Right.
I don't know if he just fell asleep to Peyton Manning play action or, whatever, but that was beautiful. Just hiding the ball in his midsection, the fake with the hand instead of the ball, and just kind of stopped for a split second and then turns around.
And they ran a delay. I've never seen this from them. They ran a delay, stutter, then ran a corner.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. That play only works if you got a really fast tight end, because he's not getting downfield enough if you don't. The ground in which Eli Rariden covered after he got vertical was like, holy crap. He just outran the defense at the corner. And Sam threw a great ball. It's one of the best balls Sam Hartman's thrown all year. It was a great ball because he wasn't wide open. He was just open. Sam's got to put that ball outside. If he doesn't put that ball outside, Vince, it gets broken up, or you can step in front of it or whatever. He threw that ball outside where either Eli catches it or nobody does.
Yep. I mean, he dropped it was a bucket, man. Like, that was there were 2 guys on his tail, right? They were trying to catch up. First of all, number 1, that shows Eli's speed, number 1. And then number 2, I mean, you couldn't have placed it in his hands any better. I mean, it was just a beautifully thrown ball. Like I said earlier, great call, great execution, just great catch, great throw. So, I mean, it was well done, man. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, because he actually threw it over. Like, I'm looking at it again, it was over top of those 2 guys. Like, it wasn't like a drag route where they're chasing and you just got. I mean, he had to throw it over the defense, and that's what Vince means by dropping it in a bucket. Great ball, one of his best balls. But it also just shows, Vince, I'm watching it now, and it's like you need a really fast kid at tight end. Like, he accelerated out of his break to that ball. I was like, he's not going to get to it, and he did. He is he can move,
and he went from 0 to 60 because he was blocking. I mean, he was blocking down. Well, I know, but like, just what I'm saying is he was like going the opposite direction, and then boom, just exploded into his route, which is impressive. It's
a great ball. I'm watching it now. It did a great job buying time and getting it out, and then Rico came on an under route. So like Rico, I mean, you could have maybe looked at Rico there if you didn't feel that the other guy was open. Rico would have come open a little bit late. But yeah, they did a really nice job with that.
Yeah, they really did. That was a great call. I loved the call. I just loved the call,
Yeah. And then later in the game, Vince, we have the last touchdown that Sam Hartman was ever going to throw at Notre Dame Stadium. And it's this play to Jaden Greathouse. There's a lot of things I liked about that call. First of all, let's talk about why they made this call and why it worked. Number 1 is, remember earlier I was talking about how they were running RPOs off of the safety, where the deep safety is actually the read key because he's downhill so much. So we saw this guy doing that all game. This is, we saw the safety towards the run action Now, when I say this guy, I'll be more clear because I'm not talking about just the guy the same guy. It's the safeties. When they would run at the safeties, those guys would come downhill.
Right.
So what Notre Dame did here is they showed inside zone action. So this is 11 personnel again. You've got Cooper Flanagan here. And at the snap, Cooper Flanagan actually works backside and then releases under. So, why? Because when they run inside zone to the tight end works backside to seal the backside edge. If they ran inside zone away from him, he would just kind of step inside and seal that way. But since it's tight inside zone to him, he's got to get to the backside. So he works backside. So that's an immediate tell that inside zone is coming because they see the tight end working behind the line of scrimmage to the backside. When Notre Dame does that 9 out of 10 times, that's inside zone or counter. It's a run. But the backs, you're seeing the line go downhill. It's clearly inside zone from what they're doing. So they show inside zone. Sam sells it pretty well. That's the first thing I like. And this guy comes flying downhill. So now they're running it's a 3-man route where you have a check down. Cooper Flanagan's basically the check down. If somebody comes off the edge, he picks him up. Nobody comes, so he leaks outside. So this is another levels concept, but this is now a deep levels. This is the exact concept I was talking about last Wednesday, where a clear out by the backside post. So what happens here, this guy comes flying downhill, and this safety goes to the middle.
Hey,
well,
you don't have it up. You don't have it up.
Oh, I don't? What the heck, man? Did I have it up before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I can see it. All right, so this is the pre-snap look. They're running inside zone here, and Cooper Flanagan's going backside.
Gotcha.
Okay. So they're running inside zone to the right. Cooper's going back this way. So that's a very clear inside zone look. So this safety right here, right there, comes flying downhill because they're robbing him downhill. And then this guy comes to the middle of the field. Well, Jordan Faison is the boundary receiver on this play, which was a great. Sometimes, Vince, it's not about who's in the game. It's about how you use them. Because who's the boundary receiver? You're 5'10", 185-pound freshman is your boundary receiver. Why? Because he's the fastest guy on the field right now at receiver. Right. You've got Jaden Greathouse here, Tobias here. Dude, this is exactly what we talked about. I mentioned Chris Tyree, but I was like, put Jaden Greathouse in the slot sometimes and maybe put Chris Tyree outside. They didn't put Chris Tyree out there. They put Jordan Faison out there. Same concept. They're both fast.
Right.
So what happens is he runs a deep post route. Takes the corner. He flew off the ball, man. He took off at the snap. And he goes to the post. And at first, I thought Faison smoked the corner, by the way.
Yes, he
did. But what happened was because they rolled, this safety right here took off to the middle to try to take away the post. They're done. Because this safety right here flew downhill and the deep safety right here took the post. There was nobody to cover Jaden Greathouse. Now, Sam holds on to the ball too long. That safety peeled back. He realized it was pass and then turned around and started getting vertical. If Sam doesn't come out of his drop and get the ball out on time, that safety might have had a chance to get back there in time to cover that, Vince. But Sam gets out of his play action, gets rid of the ball, perfect timing, and he hits Jaden Greathouse for a touchdown. So
everybody go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, man. Everybody what?
I was going to say that everybody in the secondary for Wake Forest then underestimates his speed.
Yes.
Because Jaden Greathouse just outruns everybody to the corner.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. But I'm watching the play live now. Again, it was a pure play action pass. That guy's like, oh crap. But yeah, if that safety would have jumped Jaden Greathouse on the over, Jordan Faison's open on a post route for what would have been a touchdown also. Like that play was going to be a touchdown no matter what the field safety did. Because if he takes Jordan Faison, Greathouse is open for a touchdown, which is exactly what happens. But instead, he takes the post, and now Jaden Greathouse is open. And again, well-timed ball and perfect ball by Sam, and then Jaden Greathouse used his speed to outrun it. So I love the concept, Vince. I loved how they lined up the personnel. I loved how – this was clearly you're running a high-low where either Faison or Jaden Greathouse is running that ball. Speed takes the top off. You got and Jaden, if Jaden does levels off too much, safety plays it. If he carries it too deep, corner can play it. He found the sweet spot on that over
Sure.
route too, Vince. But this is
Well,
that
and here's
post clear stuff that I talked
right.
about last week. Go ahead, buddy.
And
Sorry.
here's the other thing about running the post and having the deep safety take it is that they hit it earlier in the game. Like, and so that's a route that Notre Dame's not afraid to throw, which hasn't always been the case in the last 5 or so years. And so they had firsthand knowledge that post is a throw that Sam Hartman's going to make today, and so you better cover it. And it just got them in a pickle. I mean, so the deep safety takes the post, but then underneath, you got a wide open Jaden Greathouse. So again, another example of how one play sets up another play. It's like, man, we got to make sure that we cover this post. And they were able to score a touchdown throwing it to a different guy. So, different concept, but still building off of it by using that post to take off the top because it's a dangerous route in this game and in this offense.
But it's a similar concept to what we ran before. It's a post. It's a deep levels,
Sure,
right? So
yes.
what you're doing here is not a whole lot different than what you were doing here,
right,
or here.
Right.
You're getting to three different formations.
Yeah.
You ran 1 out of 12 with a 2x2 with the tight ends together. Second one you run out of a more balanced 12, and then the next one you run out of a 2x2 out of 11 personnel. Yeah. And so 3 different ways, 3 different route combinations, attack the defense a similar way. And Sam read them relatively well. We talked about the one that he should have gone to Rico, but if he's going to go to Holden, give him the ball now.
Right.
And he did. And he hit a big play. So I really liked what we saw from him. And again, it was a really effective way of using the play action to hit those plays.
Yeah.
It was because they had just converted a second down on an out cut to Rico on a drop back out cut. That was the one I think where Rico made a really nice play on the sideline. You're 1st and 10, and thinking, hey, running the football here, and they took the shot. So very pleased with what we saw there, Vince. Last thing, we'll just kind of some things that we didn't necessarily love from the game. We talked about a lot of them, but we're going to talk about one particular play. A lot of it was just Sam not quite making the right read, not getting the ball out on time. But when you go like what 21 of 27 on non-spike throws for 270-something yards and 4 touchdowns, he had a pretty good day. Yeah, he had a pretty good day. And I don't want to nitpick too much, but there was one big missed opportunity earlier, which against better teams, you can't miss these opportunities. You can get away with it against Wake, but this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And I'm hoping that now that Tobias has made him look good on the last 2 times, he's, really last 3-4 times. I mean, you've tried to throw him the ball where you give him any kind of chance that you would look at to here, but there was another mistake here, and it wasn't just Sam. And I want to go to this play right here. This is for those looking at it. This is the last play of the second drive. It's an incomplete ball up the left seam. That was right before the missed field goal. So first quarter, 3rd and 6 at the 29-yard line. Now, I have seen a lot of people say that this ball was meant to go to Tobias Merriweather. He was not throwing to Tobias Merriweather on this play.
No,
he was throwing the seam route. The mistake, Sam made a mistake, but his was not the more grievous mistake. The more grievous mistake on this one was from Jordan Faison. Right. And so I want to break down what happened here. So I'm just showing like there's 5 deep guys. You could have seen if you were watching this live, this guy number 3 is clearly coming downhill. So you're basically getting, if not quarters, Vince, this looked like man coverage to me.
Right.
This is 3rd down. They're bringing pressure. This tells me man coverage. And the reason I show this is just kind of show the body language of this guy. This is very clear. One of these 2 guys is coming, if not both.
Mm-hmm.
And so Notre Dame's making a check. They make a line check. And so basically this guy right here is the guy that they can't block if they bring pressure. So Sam's got to know if that guy comes, he's on me. So when you see this look, Sam decides to read the boundary, which is where he should have read. We've talked about this. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when they ran all verts and he tried to throw the field go to Jaden Greathouse. Same concept. He properly looks into the boundary this time. The problem is he looked at the wrong guy, and then that guy ran the route the wrong way. So what you see here is you've got man coverage outside with Tobias, Vince, and then you've got this safety here playing inside leverage against Jordan Faison. That means he's not going to let you beat him on a post. He's not going to let you beat him on a slant. He's not going to beat him on an end. He's going to drive on the inside. So what Jordan needs to do here is attack his leverage aiming point outside shoulder. And then when he sees that guy squeeze in, Jordan needs to take that sucker right up the seam. That's where Sam thinks he's going to go. That's why the ball looks like, where the heck is Sam Hartman throwing the football? Sam's throwing the ball near the – I don't know that it would have hit Jordan. It looked like a little bit of an off-target throw, but it looked like he's throwing to nobody because he's expecting Jordan Faison.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to show you another – so they're running all verts on this play. Now, here is Sam's view. Look, Sam right here has got the ball. He's right here. That corner is way inside of Jordan Faison. Sam's got to see that and throw it up the seam, which he does. Jordan's the one that sees that guy there and decides to bend it inside, which is not where he should have what he should have done. So on this particular play, Jordan, I believe, made a mistake, and Sam needs to get the ball up the seam. He did. However, the ball should not have gone there. As Sam's getting ready to throw, Tobias Merriweather has now eaten up the cushion of the corner. And if you watch it live, the guy barely touched him. He made an inside stab move. The guy tries to jam inside, and Tobias smokes him outside.
Well, I mean, look at the body language right here in this still clip, right? Look at the hips of the corner. His hips are still pointed at the sideline, where Tobias is running in a straight line. Right.
There's an expression here, Vince. If he's even, you're leaving. That's the expression you give your court. If it's even, you're leaving. If he's even right there, that ball's gone and you let Tobias run underneath it. It's probably a touchdown if it's an accurate throw. If not, you're inside the 5.
Right.
But it's probably a touchdown. And I don't think I have a clip. I should have put a clip, but when you see it about a second later, Tobias is like 2.5 to 3 yards in front of the guy.
Yes. Yeah.
And just smokes the guy. So it should have gone outside. If it does, it's a touchdown. However, the biggest mistake here was by Jordan Faison.
Sure.
So these are just the kind of missed opportunities. So then, it's you're at the 33-yard line right now, or no, you're at the 29-yard line. You're kicking a 46, 47-yard field goal.
They're at the 33. So
no, that's where the first down marker is. The ball, it's 3rd and 6.
Is it?
If you look at the official up there, he's at the 29.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he's at the 29. Yep.
So you're snapping it. It's a 46, 47-yard field goal. Makeable, but still, I don't want to leave it into my place kicker's hands. You had an opportunity you had 2 guys with an opportunity to make this play. Yeah. Quarterback didn't read it right, and then the guy he wanted to throw to misadjusted his route. So that's why I say sometimes you see a guy just throw it in the middle of nowhere. You're like, what the hell is the quarterback doing? You're like, it's probably one on the quarterback, right?
Right.
And that can happen sometimes with miscommunication with young players. Because again, Rico, the guy that made the mistake against Pitt, true freshman, you're going to make that mistake, and you teach him up, you move on. You don't bench him. My issue has never been they should bench Rico because of his mistake. No, it's like, how about you coach all the guys up and show them the same grace that you show Rico? You know what I mean? And Rico rewarded him for it Saturday until the fumble, but it is what it is. He was trying to make a play, whatever. So anyway, this is Jordan Faison.
Yeah,
he's a freshman. I can live with these mistakes. Now you coach them up and you correct it and you move on from it. Can live with it. That's part of. Somebody just said it's some of the growing pains. Absolutely correct. So I'm not beating Jordan Faison up. This is just what hey, look, Jordan, here's what you're doing. You see the leverage.
And he'll
you
learn.
Take that sucker vertical, because here's the thing. If you bend it inside, you don't know what's happening everywhere. Maybe that safety just keeps going out to Tobias, right? Just stay on his outside shoulder. So that way, if we do throw the outside go route, he can't run through you to get to the outside go route to Tobias, right? So he's inside that much. You stem him up. Now, what I would like seeing him do, Vince, is lean on him a little bit, then get vertical, just to try to create a little bit of separation there.
Here's the thing for me at the end of the day, and you're absolutely right with everything you said about Jordan Faison. He probably doesn't make that mistake again, to be perfectly honest.
Probably not.
I think he's a pretty quick study and all that. But the hitch for me is that the 6th-year quarterback didn't throw it to who was open. And he could have minimized the mistake by the freshman if he puts it to the right spot.
Correct.
So, and again, hindsight 2020, all that fun stuff. But at the same time, if he makes the right read, we're not even probably having. This is a film breakdown.
This isn't hindsight 2020, Vince, because I was sitting there to you, and I know what you're saying. But like
about it.
The point, I said as soon as the ball was snapped, I was like, "Oh, Tobias is going to score." Like you remember that? Like I was like, "Oh, he's going to score," and didn't get it
for
to
sure.
Him.
Like if he throws it to Tobias, number one, it's a touchdown, in my opinion. Number two, this is teaching film in the wide receiver room on Sunday. We're probably not breaking it down. You know what I mean? Because it's a
Right.
touchdown. And we're talking about what a great read it was and what a great route it was by Tobias because you're even, you're leaving, right?
And you can see Sam's body language here too, that he's clearly looking down the middle of the field. For anyone thinking he was trying to throw that to Tobias, that is not. There was no concept of that going to Tobias Merriweather on that particular play. And when you see the all 22, it's his head's kind of covered up by the goalpost, but you can still see there he's looking right down at Jordan Faison. And you said this too, like Sam was pissed at somebody.
Yes.
And you can go look at it. He's clearly pissed at Jordan
he's pissed at Jordan and he kind of made he kind of made a motion with his
like
hands.
Right.
Yeah, like you need to be cutting that up.
Right.
And so it's yeah, exactly.
Yep. So that's kind of what we saw there, Vince, from that one. But there weren't I mean, again, Sam played good football. Was it his best game? No. It was not his best game. I don't think it was even really close to his best game. I think he's definitely had better games than that. But he was pretty good. I thought he was very good. I thought he was better against Navy. I thought he was better against Central Michigan. I thought
State.
he was NC State. Yeah, he was pretty darn good against NC State. Once they figured out ways to handle the pressure, I thought he was pretty good against NC State. He played well, but there were definitely games he played better than that one, in my opinion. But it was still a good day of work.
Sure.
And it was his fifth best day in regard to quarterback efficiency rating. It was his 6th best day from a yards per attempt standpoint. And it was his 3rd best day from a completion percentage standpoint. And it was his 4th best day from a yard standpoint. So there's no statistical measure, other than he tied his best day touchdown wise with Navy and NC State. There's no measure by which I think you can make a case that this was his best day. Yeah. It was probably his most memorable because he's doing it against his former team.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't his best day.
For sure.
Yeah.
He'll remember this one forever. There's no doubt about that.
Yep. All right. So a couple questions about this particular play, Vince, that I want to answer because they're very good questions and I like the thought process. Somebody had mentioned up here, it was, let me find it, Gary L. So he felt like Jordan brought it inside so the nickel couldn't get over to Tobias. And I understand all that, but what I would say is him bending it inside increases the odds that guy goes over top of him to Tobias, number one. But number two, I've had young receivers say that, hey, I did this because I thought, but you can't, because the quarterback doesn't know that that's what you're thinking, because that's not part of your route progression. You're taught to run the route this way. If he does this, you bend. If he does this, you go vertical, right? So you've got to stay within the rules. Because it's a good thought by Gary. It is a good thought, but if you run through his outside shoulder, he can't get through you over to Tobias.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's the reality of it. That's number one. And then you had a question from Enigma says that, do you think Jordan didn't want to run into Tobias on the route, so he bent it inside? No, again, good thought. I like the thought process. However, this is why I say that Jordan needs to do a better job of attacking the leverage of the safety. So if Jordan squeezes that guy inside more, because see, here's where the guy is now. If Jordan would have, let me pull it up. I keep forgetting to do that. For you. Yeah. There you go. Let's just say, so like you can see where the guy is now and you can see where he is at the snap. So Jordan is on the same vertical track the whole time.
Right. He didn't bend it in at all.
Not at all. On his now, what Jordan should have done, the way I taught it, Vince, and I don't know how you taught it, but my teaching point for receivers was your attack is leverage inside. That means inside, outside, head up, and your aiming points is outside shoulder. Right. So on this particular play, his outside shoulder is inside of you. So what it would have looked like is a quick in and vertical to get even with him. And then what that would have done is that would have forced this guy to declare, hey, I am going deep to help out outside, or I'm squeezing on you. If he goes outside, now your bend is more effective and Sam can see the bend. But Sam's not going to see the bend or think the bend is an option when that guy's 2.5 yards inside of you leverage-wise.
Right.
Right?
You need to squeeze that down.
So my teaching point to Jordan would have been get up on his leverage immediately. So your inside shoulder should be on his outside shoulder.
Yep.
Now, what likely happens, since this is man, but it's man, but he's trying to force Jordan outside. He wants Jordan to go outside, which is okay, because I think Jordan can beat him outside. But what I would say to Jordan is two things. Number one is you now need to win. And you just releasing vertically with him 2.5 yards inside of you makes it harder to win if you want to bend it inside. You can't do it when that guy's 2.5 yards inside of you. There's just no reason this is the way to do it. So get up and in on him. So it would look like this. Boom, boom, get vertical. Now you have a two-way go, right? Depending on how he covers you. And there's a good chance if he's trying to protect the inside that he squeezes down even harder. As you squeeze down on him, he's probably going to drift a little bit more. Now you've got more room to work when you break it out up the seam. Now you have more room to work, and you've now made sure that you're not going to get out to Tobias. So there is a way for Jordan. If Jordan's concern is I'm covered, I got to make sure this guy doesn't get over to Tobias. That's fine, but there's a right and a wrong way to do that. And even in that case, Jordan didn't do it right. But as you said, Vince, he's now seen it.
Yeah.
You're going to coach him up on it. No. And next time Jordan doesn't make that mistake. Right. Because we haven't seen him make a lot of mistakes twice. And then he came back later because I thought Jordan got off to a rough start. He didn't make a hard play for that ball in the end zone on the next drive, I believe. Or no, actually, it was the play right before this was the wide fade where Sam underthrew him. But Jordan's got to make a better play for the football on that. He just kept drifting. But he came back and bounced back and made a couple nice plays. And again, his hustle off the line on that post route we just talked about, like I should have found that play to show how deep Jordan Faison got when that ball got loose, because he is about 10, 20, over 30 yards down the field when that ball gets let loose. And that clears out that zone. So he bounced back. He had a nice RPO catch where he caught it at 5 yards, made it, just quickly got outside, ran through a guy and got 11 on it. Remember that?
Got a first down,
Jordan bounced back and played well, but these are just some of those young guy mistakes that you live with and you coach them up and get it fixed. But those are the things. But at the end of the day, Vince, as you said, if the quarterback would have made the correct read, boundary was the correct read, but that ball's got to go. With that leverage, Sam's got to say, that's not the throw. That seems not the throw. I got a one-on-one outside. I'm going to number 5.
Take it. Yeah. It's like stealing.
Because honestly, also it's easier to come back, because if that cornerback jams up Tobias at the line, then that's going to make it easier for you to come back inside of that seam. Right. It should have been an outside-in read, not an inside-out read, in my opinion, on that particular play. So that's where that ball should have gone. And if it does, to your point, Vince, if it's an accurate throw, I think it's a touchdown, because Tobias flat out outran that guy. Flat out outran that guy.
Yes, he
on
did.
That play.
Yeah.
I'll just
Everybody
say
needs to go back and watch that.
Vince, you've noticed this. You when you watch the All 22. That happens a lot from Tobias the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
Even going back to the Louisville game, he was terrible against Duke. And he has not got the ball a ton since then. But if you go back and watch Duke game, USC game, Pitt game, Clemson game, there's at least 3 or 4 snaps a game where number 5 torches a guy. And the ball just doesn't come his way.
Yeah.
But it should.
I'm hoping that this is kind of a turnaround for that. Because I do think Tobias has been working his butt off.
Yeah.
Because he has been blocking really, really well. I think
I've talked to some sources that there are some on the coaching staff that recognize what he's doing in practice and how much he's getting open. Now, here's the thing that bothers me when it comes to this position coach. Do you remember seeing much of Tobias Merriweather after the touchdown? No. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
agreed. He was in on that touchdown pass to Jaden Greathouse, by the way. You actually had 2 guys open on it, because you could have come back to Tobias on that, but that was not the read. He made the proper read.
Made the right read.
But there's a lot of plays, Vince, and that's something I wanted to finish with. There was a lot of plays in this game where I felt like they had 2 to 3 guys open.
Right.
Where Sam had multiple options.
Right.
That's when you know your receiving core is having a good day, and your game plans and stuff are where they need to be. When you got like multiple guys open, like on the touchdown pass, Eli Rariden, if Sam realizes that those 2 guys have their backs turned, Rico Flores is coming across. If he throws it to Rico, that's a touchdown too.
Right.
I mean, he made the right read, but let's say he just felt like, I don't know if I can get enough on this corner route. All right, just boom. Touchdown. Right. And those are things that you like to see. So I was a big fan of the pass game and how the receivers played. And it was, you could, like that touchdown pass to Greathouse, this play right here, guys, that is a play designed to get the ball to Jaden Greathouse. The play action and the route concept. Now, if the both safeties come down, you have no problem hitting the post route, and it's a high-low read. But as a coach, you're calling that play thinking we're going to Great House, even though he's technically the second part of the initial read, because there's one read, but that one read is going to be one of two guys. This guy goes here, I come here. If this guy goes here, I come there, right? But you're putting Faison backside and you're putting Jaden Greathouse in the slot. Why? Because we want to get 19 the football.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
And he was in the slot, which is
that's what
where
I'm saying.
he gets the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, two really good things, in my opinion, came out of this game, Brian. And Enrico Flores had a great game. And you're not taking anything away from that. It's a 100-yard game, first time since the bowl game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To me, the two biggest things from the past game to come out of this game were Jaden Greathouse and Tobias Merriweather getting catches and making plays, because the two of them have been like ghosts in the past game for the last X amount of weeks, and for those two guys to get not only just get some catches and get some touches, but get touchdowns as well. It's like, okay, you got those two guys, you got Rico doing his thing, you had Jordan Faison making play. Like, you had guys making plays in this game. And so that's one of the biggest things for me moving into next week, into the Stanford game, is that not only do I want to see the inventive game plan that we saw against Wake Forest. I think the game plan was really good, whether you're talking play action, you're talking run game, you're talking balance, all of those different things. I really liked the game plan coming in, but I also like the fact that the wide receivers were making plays. They were open because of the game plan, because of the way they played, but then the ball was starting to get spread around again, and those guys are all starting to make plays. So let's see that, move into next week. Let's see that 2 weeks in a row, and then, into bowl prep and the bowl game and all of those different things. So, and as Gary L says, and Eli, 100%,
right.
You're seeing guys start making plays, and I'm hoping, and I know that it's game 11 going into game 12, but I'm hoping now Sam Hartman is seeing that there's guys that are going to make plays for him.
So which means finishing strong. That's the key. I don't,
absolutely. Yes.
Look, because I was talking with somebody tonight, and we were both lamenting about the missed opportunity of this season.
What could have been.
And nothing is going to happen down that's just going to make me not feel that way.
Agreed.
But the comment I made to him, I said, the reason it's so important for them to finish strong is because I don't think because he and I both thought this team had a chance to compete for a title this year.
Sure.
But the thing was, perception-wise, with recruits and things like that, which is, an important piece, I don't think that recruits saw Notre Dame as a title contender this year.
Sure.
So if Notre Dame finishes strong, you blow out USC, you're kicking the mess out of teams. Every recruit that was at Notre Dame Stadium when they played Ohio State came away thinking Notre Dame should have won that football game. Sure. Every single one of them, right? And I know that because they all tell us that, and they tell Notre Dame that, right? So they look at it and they say, hey, listen, that's a bummer, but win out, dominate Stanford, dominate Wake Forest, win your bowl game and look good doing it. And we're disappointed, but there is good momentum, but you're sending a statement to college football or to recruits that, hey, this year we weren't what we'd hoped to be. We didn't live up to the Notre Dame standard of a championship, but we took steps. We're a better football team. And man, look how our offense played down the stretch. So it is important that Sam Hartman does feel the way you talk about, Vince.
Yeah.
And start, like, if Sam goes out the next couple games and throws for 3 bills in these next 2 games, you're like, okay, man, like it didn't pan out how you hoped, but he's still over 3,000 yards and Notre Dame will score a mess of points. And right now, Notre Dame's got a chance, if, especially with playing Stanford this weekend with how bad they are, that they can set an all-time scoring record. Seriously, Notre Dame has a pretty good chance of setting the all-time scoring record for their football program. And I'm not talking about like the total points record that they set in 2019. That is also has a chance to be broken, because right now, if you look at Notre Dame right now, Vince, they are 65 points away from tying the all-time points in a season record. That is 478 set in 2019. Now, that's total points, because remember, Newt Rockne coached 7 games, 9 games, 10 games, right? So a little different deal. So I'm not just talking about that record, which I'll be shocked if they don't break, because if they don't get at least 3/4 of that against Stanford, I'm going to be disappointed, right?
Right.
Because
No, I
Stanford's defense
agree.
is trash.
I agree.
And then you hit 24-27 in the bowl game. So this offense that we're all disappointed by is still about to break the all-time Notre Dame record, right? But here's the thing, Vince. It's not just about the points in a season. This team has a chance to break the all-time scoring record in regard to points per game as well, which is 37.6. And that was set, I'm trying to find the year, that was set in 1968. 37.6. The current offense right now is scoring 37.5 points per game. Now, if they don't get more than that against Stanford, I'm going to be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, again, does that mean that I'm thrilled about how the offense did? No, I'm not. Because you're gauged Notre Dame by what you did against the worst teams in your schedule. But we also can't discount the fact that, guys, they took a big step in that regard. Now it's in these 3 games, do it against these 3 teams as well.
Sure.
Not scoring 40, but being aggressive and mixing up and those type of things. And that's what I'm hoping that we'll see. And a big key to that is what you just said, Vince. When Sam Hartman and Jared Parker and Chancey Stuckey and Gino Guidugli all start showing more confidence in the young pass catchers, they're going to start playing with more confidence. And what we saw on Saturday, it's going to look a lot more like what we see on a regular basis, because they're not going to play an Ohio State or a Louisville or most likely even a Clemson defensively in the bowl. Now, they may play a team that's maybe better than Clemson, but they're not going to play a defense, in my opinion, better than Clemson in a bowl game. So it really is about finishing on a strong note, which they should.
Agreed.
Think about that. Notre Dame could set the all-time scoring record in points and points per game, and people are going to be calling for the offensive coordinator to be fired. I mean,
right.
Again, we can be frustrated with it not being good enough in a few games, and that's 100% true, without jumping off a cliff and overreacting to say
exactly.
Fire the guy.
100%.
Good luck hiring a legitimate offensive coordinator when you just fired the guy that helped you set an all-time scoring record, if that's what happens.
Right.
Now they could go lay an egg against Stanford and we're having a different conversation, right? I mean, now that's what I say. Just let the season play out, and then we'll see where things go. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Well, that's going to do it, right? I think we're there.
Let's briefly talk about the defense.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need the whole segment on the defense, but because honestly, Vince, you kind of said it. We kind of, what we talked about in the show on Saturday is kind of where we are.
Yeah.
You actually, I did want to say this. You actually felt that the linebacker play overall was better at most spots than what you thought live.
I did. I thought live, I was like, oh man, linebackers aren't doing a great job. They're not filling the way they should. But then watching it back, I actually thought that JD and Jack played better than I had thought watching it live. Marist did not play well to me. And so I would say 2/3 of the linebacking core played better than I thought that they did. I'm not saying it was one of JD's best games by any stretch, but I thought that he made some good. There was one play actually that epitomizes the entire game for me when it comes to JD versus Marist. JD was playing on the right-hand side of the defense. Marist is playing on the left. It's a run to the defense's left. Marist just kind of stands there. JD just takes off in front of Marist and goes and makes the play, and then Marist kind of hops on the pile after the fact. And it's just like, yep, that was about right for this game. And so, there were times where JD kind of ran into some blocks that I didn't like, but overall I thought he played better than I had watched live. And so I was happy to see that. And then Jordan Botelho played as bad as I thought that he did. I mean, that one was spot on for me. That was tough.
No, you don't need to do that, because I'm muting myself because I'm always trying to talk over you. And so when I mute myself when you're talking, it helps me. Like,
I hear you.
I'm muted.
It looks like you were trying to say something. So
I was, but that's I mute myself. So
right.
it forces me to let you finish talking before I jump in. Because again, part of it is knowing who you are, right?
No, 100%. Self-scouting.
Yeah. Yep. So it just, I don't know what it is, man, because he was actually decent at that at the beginning. He was pretty good at setting the edge early in the year. I don't know what's going on with that kid. but he's a liability out there, Vince.
He really is.
I mean, he really the last few games he's been a liability, in my opinion.
And it's I thought that Junior played okay when he got in. Little bit of indecisiveness at times for him, but I thought he did a decent job of setting the edge. And almost a couple of the times that he did set the edge, it was almost because he hesitated a little bit on making some plays. There was one where he was a little bit too flat, where you can't really do that. You still have to come upfield a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they were able to get outside of him.
Right.
But Botelho just goes up so high all the time. He's just flying through it. And so Junior is Junior. Like, he's still learning the position, and so I don't expect him to be perfect. But his hesitation allowed him to at least play the edge better than Botelho did. And so I thought that, and we said this in the show on Saturday, man, when the young guys were in those last couple of series, they're fast, man. They're fast. They're athletic. They're long. It's fun to watch them. They're not always in the right spot, but man, do they fly around. They fly around. And so when they get more of an opportunity to be the guys, I think this defense is going to be so much fun to watch. So much fun to watch.
Well, you just watch them, Vince, and it's just like it's all of them. It's Brendan Vernon, it's Boubacar, it's Devin Houston, it's Drake Bowen, it's a Don Schuler. I mean, it's all of them. You're
coming down from the safety position. Yeah.
Like, man, these catches move different.
Yeah.
They just move different. And so you start getting excited. Like, they're going to be a young team next year in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm fingers crossed that Mills and Cross come back, because that could be the anchor. That would take so much pressure off whoever starts at linebacker next year, whether it's Ziegler, Snead, Bowen, Alsbury, Zinter, Kingston, whoever,
Right.
The safeties, like, if those two guys come back up the middle with Rubio and Onye, and Donovan Hinish will be a junior next year. And Donovan was, when Donovan got in troubles, when he kind of had to go up against a guy that had to outweigh him by 30, 40 pounds.
Sure.
But he also had a lot of wins, right? So you're looking at it, and then, you're going to, Armo Mukum's going to be a year older. You saw what Devin Houston did, and now he's going to be healthy because he's now a year removed from the injury that he had. And you're like, man, this defense is going to be young next year, but man, they're going to be big and long and athletic. And
the secondary, I mean, if Xavier Watts comes back, you've got Morrison on one side, you've got Gray on the other. You might have Mickey at corner.
Really hoping they move him to nickel. Really hoping.
Xavier at safety, and frankly, I don't care who you put at the other safety. They're going to be just fine. So there's so much to.
But you like the athleticism, but it just some of the veterans on Saturday. Just I know what you're saying about JD, and I agree with you. He made a lot more plays than maybe you thought. I mean, I do remember him making the sack on the blitz that forced the fumble on the first play of the second half. Right.
Yep.
My issue was he just allowed himself to be blocked way too much. That was my biggest beef. And I thought Jack Kaiser just kind of overran holes. You know what I mean? I just thought his run fits weren't good. The safety run fits weren't good all game long. I mean, that's really true. Most of them. I thought that was a bit of an issue. But overall, the defense was good. And Wake had to earn, outside of one. I mean, that one drive kind of soured things a little bit for me. Just because there were so many opportunities to stop that drive from going, and they didn't make those stops.
That was trick plays and a penalty, and it just.
But after that, they had one drive that got them in the scoring zone, and that was it. And but Wake stinks too, and I think that's part of it. Is I was, it's funny, even though they scored the 7 that I thought that they would score, you still kind of were hoping that they'd pitch a shutout. Sure. But because they have the last 2 senior days, but overall the defense was good. It was good. I thought the interior guys were better than I thought live. To be honest with you, I thought the run fits off of them were the problem more so than them. There's a couple times they got driven out too far outside, but overall, I thought the interior players were better than I thought watching live. I thought the edge players, Nana and Javante Jean-Baptiste, were both really good. I thought in this game they were both really good.
Agreed.
I love how Nana, if he doesn't come back, I just love how that kid has grown into a leader without being a starter. I mean, that's when you can become a team leader and you're not a starter, and you're not starting over a guy who just came in the program, but you remain a leader. That speaks so much to the type of young man that Nana is. Forget football for a second, the character that he has.
Sure.
But I had a chance to talk to his parents a couple times, and you're not at all shocked when you meet his mom and dad. You're not at all shocked that Nana is who he is at all. You know what I mean? But still, the kid's got to go to college and still become a man and take on the
Sure.
lessons that you taught him. And Nana did that. I mean,
Yeah.
again, when you can get when you get a transfer to come in, beat you out, although Nana still plays, and you remain a team leader and an emotional, I mean, that just speaks volumes about your character. And I thought both of those kids were really good on Saturday. I just thought the Viper position just
it's just not where I thought it was going to be this year. I mean, I never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I wish Javonte Jean-Baptiste had another year. I really do.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because you're not sure who that guy is, but I'm telling you, man, I'm sitting there thinking about, like, dude, they may move Burnham over there next year. You've got Brennan Vernon, Boubacar maybe moving over there next year. Like, I'm kind of excited to see what those young guys are going to do.
Oh, sure, and that's part of what college football is all about.
Right, but to your point, Javante's been really good. You're like, man, or I wish Javonte would have transferred like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Because
exactly.
then Riley might have moved inside sooner.
Sure.
And who knows what.
I didn't anticipate him being the impact player that he was this year. When he came over, I was like, oh, nice step piece for the line, of the rotation, that kind of a thing. But he outplayed my expectations.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
I mean, literally what he did this year was the best case scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And you rarely get the best case scenario for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. It was very, very nice. But yeah, defensively overall, Vince, I mean, you held him to 100 yards, under 100 yards.
Yeah, 7 points and under 100 yards passing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's,
and 17 of those passing yards were from a receiver.
Yeah,
their quarterback had 11 completions for 81 yards.
I'm still mad that Harper let that guy go, though, because he was covering him, and then he just let him get behind him.
Yeah.
And so that
he was kind of in no man's land. He's like, okay, do I come up and play the reverse, or do you know what I mean? Like,
I know. I was just like, oh, if he just stays with him. He wasn't faked out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just stay with
him. He just kind of caught in that no man's land of, what do I do?
Yeah.
Do I keep running with this guy, or and let that guy run, or do I come up and play this guy and hope,
Yeah.
But
I think he thought maybe Xavier was a little bit closer than maybe he was.
Yeah.
But
the other thing too, Vince, I thought the timing early of the blitzes that's why I kept saying, and it's like, it really felt like a last year game with the linebackers.
Yes.
I thought the timing of the blitzes was not where it needed to be, and just wasn't hitting home. But as they got deeper into the game, they were a little bit more effective with that, I thought.
Yeah. So, no, I agree, because that's one of the things that they've done a lot better this year is the timing of those blitzes and the delayed blitzes and things of that nature. And early on they were tipping their hand a little bit too much for my liking.
Yep. So Vince, now that'll do it. We did have one super chat.
Nope. All right.
That I wanted to address here before we get going, because it was regarding to the game this weekend.
David Hess, thanks for the super chat. What's up, guys? How do we get the Pac-12 network for this game? What streaming service has it?
So Vince and I will be watching it on Fubo. I had to go add one of the packages. It's like an extra. Actually, I can go look and see what it is, but it's an extra, I think, $6.99 a month.
Okay.
To add Fubo, to add that sports package to it. I'm actually going to go look. It wasn't much. It wasn't like crazy, but that's what I had to do. And then I'll cancel it after the month is basically what I'll do. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is to do that. I'm actually going to go to my add-on. So I had to add let's see here. No, that ain't it. Where is that package? It's the Fubo Extra Sports Package. It's $7.99 for the month. You get 56 extra channels. You get MLB Network. You get Cooking Channel, NHL Network, NBA TV, stuff like that. You get American History Channel, which I'm going to be taking full advantage of that for the next month. You know me. But and then you also get like ESPNU and the Pac-12 Network. So there's some other things on there. If you all don't have Fubo, it's solid. It's a solid network. There's some things I like about it, some things I don't love about it. It's a little bit pricier than YouTube TV, but you're also, I mean, there's some channels on there that they have that I don't have on YouTube TV. which is why I got it. As I mentioned, my wife likes the Great American Channel as opposed to Hallmark. She prefers that over Hallmark. They don't have that Great American Channel on YouTube TV, so that was the main reason we got Fubo.
Gotcha.
And you have you can pay for 1,000. Like it's not much. I'm trying to think what it is, but you can pay to have up to 1,000 hours of recorded shows. It's an extra 1 cent a month to have the 1,000 hours of recording.
1 cent? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
1 cent, an extra 1 cent a month to have 1,000 hours, to boost your cloud to 1,000 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, so why even charge the penny? It's crazy.
Right. Exactly.
But hey, whatever. It's fine.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of what's at. So I'll have that and I'll get rid of it after the Notre Dame game. So,
nice.
But yeah, that's what I'd encourage people to do.
What we're doing for that game is we are going to do a live watch, and Brian and I don't know if anybody else is going to join us, but you and I are going to be there, and we're going to watch.
And it'll be a little different than last year, just to help you all. And Vince and I will work out the particulars. Like last year, we just kind of talked. We're going to do it a little bit more play-by-play ish than we have. So we'll try to let you guys know what play it is and where we are, because I've had some people say that they're just not going to watch the game at all, and they're just going to listen to us talk about the game.
Cool.
And break the game down. So we'll do it a little bit like that.
Skills. I love it.
We'll do it a little bit, and it won't be like a pure play-by-play, but it'll just be kind of like, okay, guys, here's where we're at, and here's what we're seeing, and and then react to what we see.
It's gonna be fun.
So
I can't wait. Yep. I enjoy that stuff. So, and then we'll have a shorter post game afterwards, but we'll still have a post game show, and
because we'll break down a lot of it during the game, but we'll just kind of give our overall thoughts.
We don't want it to be repetitive, that kind of a thing, because generally the post game show is like our thoughts on the game, and we're going to be giving you those during the game. So,
it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm looking
me too,
forward
man.
to it. Yeah,
me too.
And I'm curious to see what the attendance is going to be like, and do people give super chats? Like all those type of things always factor into, does it make sense to do this in the future, kind of thing. So we're gonna do it with more of a line of looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, not just us hanging out talking, but trying to do a little bit more with it. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
Right. Yep.
So it'll be a live show that way. Again, won't be play by play. It's not gonna be that. It's just gonna be a little bit more.
Right.
Just a little bit different than what we did in the past. So it's going to be fun.
So make sure you guys check us out. We'll go on about a half hour or so before the game starts, kind of set things up, and then just dive right in once the game kicks off. So it should be a lot of fun. So, but we've also got a loaded week. Well, not as loaded because we got the holiday, but still a loaded week. There's still going to be shows put up every day. And, pregame show is going to be put up Friday night into Saturday, so you can check that out as well with me, Sean, and Jesse, and then of course the live game and then the post game. So lots of fun stuff coming your way this week. So make sure you hang out at Irish Breakdown, and of course a lot of good content over at irishbreakdown.com. And if you're not a member of the boards.irishbreakdown.com, make sure you jump in and join the party, because there's always good stuff. And I will also say Brian did a great breakdown of the run game, and has some actual film on there and some fun stuff, but that's board only material, folks.
And I'll have the pass breakdown coming up too, and I'm eventually going to get caught up with all the games that I've missed. But feeling better, got over some health issues, so definitely feeling a lot better. It's like the flu I had last week was kind of like rock bottom for me. So now I'm feeling a lot better, and
it's stepping it in.
It's been good.
Love it.
Good.
I love that.
Yeah.
So everybody, hey, make sure you stay locked in with Irish Breakdown. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, give us a 5-star review, tell your friends and family, all that good stuff. And we'll be back tomorrow with more great content. So make sure you check things out, guys. So for Brian, I'm Vince. We'll talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown podcast.